For now, we're also following another story. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell appearing to have another freezing episode for the second time in 2 months while speaking with reporters today after giving a speech in Kentucky.
I'm sorry, I had a hard time hearing you.
That's okay. What are your thoughts on running for re-election in 2026?
What are my thoughts about what?
Running for re-election in 2026.
That's
It was similar to what we saw in July, where there's this freezing. It's the freezing of the speech. It's the freezing of the body. It's the tight sort of grasping of the side of the lectern.
Tonight, new questions about Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell after he appeared to freeze for about 30 seconds while speaking with reporters.
Senator, you're up for election in 3 short years. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm sorry, I had a hard time hearing you.
That's okay. What are your thoughts on running for re-election in 2026?
What are my thoughts about what?
Running for re-election in 2026.
Well, first of all, I find it very hard to watch that tape. The senator has had a really precipitous decline in his health over the last several months, and it's playing out, very publicly. So my heart goes out to him. Mm-hmm. What I see basically is the senator becoming perhaps a little bit confused and then mute, and he stares off to the side, sort of to the upper side, and is unable to speak for about 10 seconds. And that looks like he's having a type of seizure called an absence seizure. The senator had a really traumatic brain injury in March when he fell. And about 10% of people who have a big enough injury to be hospitalized after a head injury like that will subsequently have things like a seizure. And that's what it looks like to me. And this is exactly the same presentation as 5 weeks ago. They basically are mirror images.
Another televised hell scare for Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. He is 81, and today, while taking questions from reporters in Kentucky, this is what happened.
What are my thoughts about what?
Running for re-election in 2026.
Not easy to watch. A spokesman for Senator McConnell said the Republican leader felt momentarily lightheaded and paused during the news conference. This is the second time something like this has happened. Just last month, McConnell froze for 30 seconds during a Capitol Hill press conference. So as you can imagine, even a single episode like that in someone of any age is cause for concern.
He was frozen sort of in place. It's the freezing sort of episode of his body, of his face, of his speech, of his hands. His hands are clenching the side of the lectern. You can see his aide coming over there and trying to sort of lift his hand, sort of frozen in place there for about 30 seconds this time around as well. So is this some sort of Parkinsonian-like sort of thing? When someone's medications are wearing off, sometimes they can freeze like this. The other things is a mini seizure or even a TIA, which is a transient ischemic attack. Some of these things more likely than others, but as I say, the list is long. I think what really struck me, John, was that the aides came there quickly, but they did not seem surprised. But he does have, he's had significant falls. He also has this sort of what we call sometimes in the neurological world masked face, masked facies, where you just don't have as much expression, and that sometimes can be associated with Parkinsonian-like things as well.
Ahead, there are major new questions about Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and his health. The 81-year-old lawmaker froze again mid-answer at a press conference.
Did you hear the question, Senator? Running for re-election in 2026?
A jarring moment in Kentucky today. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell freezing for over 30 seconds while he was in the middle of answering a reporter's question, the second time that this has happened in just a matter of weeks.
Running for re-election in 2026.
Did you hear the question, Senator? Running for re-election in 2026? All right, I'm sorry, you all are going to need a minute.
And a string of
They are both difficult moments to watch, no matter where your politics lie. And those two moments are raising questions about Mitch McConnell's future as the Republican leader in the Senate, a position that he has held for decades. After both incidents, aides said that McConnell was feeling just lightheaded. He did attend a fundraiser this evening. He did not make any mention of what happened earlier today in Kentucky. But this time, unlike a month ago when it first happened, as you saw there on the right, McConnell's office said that the 81-year-old lawmaker will see a doctor. This comes months after McConnell suffered a fall at what was then the Trump Hotel in Washington. He also had a concussion, according to his office.
Well, that is a pretty classic episode of freezing, the same term that you used. I mean, that is what I see. You see someone who becomes frozen in their speech, even their face is sort of frozen, their body is frozen. You can see his hands, Caitlin, are sort of clenching the sides of the lectern. One of his aides comes over to try and raise his hands, but he's really sort of locked in place. He doesn't look like he's fainting or something like that. And you'd be surprised that there's a pretty long list of things that could potentially cause this. Is it a temporary sort of lack of blood flow to the brain, something known as a TIA, a mini seizure, something like that? Those seem less likely, but you see people who have Parkinson's disease who will become kind of frozen if their medications start to wear off. We don't know, again, as you say, what he has, but that would be an example of something that could cause that. And that's often associated with what's called a masked facies. People really lose expression of their face at the same time. So, we don't know. We do know that the aides who came to his side there, they didn't seem that surprised, Caitlin. Mm-hmm. We've seen this twice, but you get the sense that they see it quite a bit, even knew how to react. And one of the ways that there wasn't this sense of urgency, we need to get him to the hospital right away, which makes you think that they kind of have dealt with this, may already know what's going on.